All right, I'm going to give it just another 60 seconds and then I will be muting everyone and you will not have the capability to unmute, but if anything comes up, feel free to just message me in the chat inbox. But we're excited that you're here today.
Oh, I just have to say hi to Angela Mahoney, past chair.
Hello.
Awesome to see your face.
Good to see you all. Oh, it's been so long.
All right, well, welcome volunteers. We are very excited to have you all join us for our very first Lunch and Learn event. Our guest today is Dr. Lyndsay Harshman. She's a pediatric nephrologist here at UI Healthcare. Some of you may remember her as Lyndsay Bailey. She was a volunteer leader while she was an undergraduate here at Iowa. In the next half an hour, we will hear a little bit about her experience as a physician and the role that volunteering has made, that has had in her life. And then if time remains, we'll ask her some questions that you guys submitted. So welcome, Dr. Harshman. Thank you for agreeing to be a part of this today.
I am so excited to do this. You know, I am also super excited to see many of the community faces, community volunteer faces that I recognized from what seems like not so long ago, but actually is a little longer than I would like to admit. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we'll get going here. All right. So can you still hear me okay, Jonah? We're good? Okay, perfect. So really today, I want to take you on a little tour of kind of who I am and how volunteer services impacted me. And I think it's a fair shake to say that I had such an awesome experience in my time as a college student volunteer here. And so I'm really, really excited to share that experience with you. And really, again, share how my time with volunteer services as an undergrad volunteer really shaped my future and how I think it has the potential to shape your future and wherever you're at in life right now. So really what I'd like to do would be to take honestly about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes or so, and talk about kind of the who, what, where of who I am. And then I would love to open it up to questions because I think that that's going to really be a great opportunity. I know if you're anything like me right now, you're missing people, you're missing community, and you're missing those sort of shared experiences of what this place brings to us. So hopefully today, just having the opportunity to ask questions and have sort of a little bit of dialogue, we can still have that sort of experience of virtual community. So as was mentioned in the promotional materials, I've kind of grown up a little bit, I guess, since my time in volunteer services. I'm currently an assistant professor. I'm a physician here on the early faculty tenure track. I'm the medical director of Pediatric Kidney Transplant. And again, in the Department of Pediatrics, Division of Pediatric Nephrology, Dialysis, and Transplantation. So we'll talk about, again, what I'm doing now, but I really like to bring that in the context of what my past experiences with the volunteer program set me up to be able to do. So this is me. If you didn't already figure that out, I grew up in Centerville, Iowa, so down here in the southernmost part of the state. If you aren't familiar with Iowa, Centerville and sort of that southernmost tier of counties, they're pretty poor. And there's not a lot of opportunity for shadowing. There's not a lot of opportunity for volunteering necessarily. So when I came here to the University of Iowa in 2002, almost 20 years ago now, yikes, I was so excited for the opportunity to be able to look into volunteer opportunities and experiences and to be able to see medicine in a way I hadn't seen it before. And so I came here in 2002 as a psychology major, planning to do pre-med, which I did as well, obviously. and graduated in 2006. And I started volunteering as I had to go back through like all of my memory cells to be able to remember this. And 2003, as I recall, in that winter. So basically my first semester after I'd been here in college, fall 2002, and then winter, spring 2003, joined in with the volunteer program. And my first experience in volunteering was actually in the medical intensive care unit. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit here, because that medical intensive care unit experience for me was in many ways kind of life-changing. And we'll talk about that as we kind of round this out a little bit. But really in the NICU, those experiences for me were able to form much of my personal statement for medical school. I also volunteered in child psychiatry, the NICU cuddlers, and the Pediatric Specialty Clinic waiting room. And much of the latter half of those volunteer experiences came as I was on the student leader board in my junior year, and then the student leader board chair at my senior year. And in my senior year, honestly, some of my favorite volunteer experiences came volunteering at Rooftop Cafe, where I got to know many of the community volunteers that are here on the call today. I want to talk just a few minutes about my volunteer experiences in the NICU. You know, as an undergrad student, you walk into the NICU and it's a high intensity environment. And one of the things that I really, credit feeling like I could be a successful volunteer was the opportunity to have a mentor in the volunteer unit that I was at. So my first time, in the NICU, I went and walked through the unit with my mentor. Obviously, we had like a unit orientation and everything, but the opportunity to have a mentored experience, seeing someone else in the unit, and that the staff recognize that volunteer and they value that volunteer. That was really impressive to me, to be able to see those things and to see how volunteers could really change healthcare for those patients in a really intense environment. And as I got going into the semester and into that summer, I had one of kind of this like wow moments, vividly remembering this sweet older lady who was there in the intensive care unit, and her family wasn't there with her for whatever reason, I can't remember. But that day I walked in and I was chatting with her, and she said, all I want is to have my hair washed in a root beer float. So what did we do? We washed her hair and we made her a root beer float. And that experience for me was just one of those opportunities in life that I will never forget. I will never forget the look on her face, just that peaceful satisfaction of feeling like someone cared about her, knowing that someone cared about her as a person and not just a person in a bed, and seeing the impact that I could have on her as a volunteer was just like a wow moment, right? And I can't wait for all of you who haven't had those opportunities. COVID's been kind of a pain in the rear, just to put it lightly, but for you all to get back into the units and see those experiences, to feel those experiences and be able to have that impact. One of the other things I think that really has been a huge part of what I took with me going forward in my career actually came from the times that I was out volunteering at Rooftop. When you're volunteering at Rooftop, you see people kind of for who they are. You see the physicians for who they are. You see, the hospital administrators, the nurses for who they are. They didn't know me from, John Smith, right? They just knew I was this person getting them their coffee. But you can see when people have an attitude of compassion, an attitude of equality, an attitude of respect to others. And it was really interesting to me, as I went into my medical school career, to think of how some of the physicians that would come up to the Rooftop Cafe treated those that were serving them, that were in the area of Rooftop, right? Some couldn't care less to say two words, to the volunteers, and others would chat and chat and chat and chat. And there was no divide because of rank. There was no divide because of a physician versus a volunteer. They cared about you as a person, and they were just happy to be able to chit chat with you. And so seeing those how those physicians approached the workers in the hospital, the normal human beings, right, that were helping to make the intricate workings of this hospital go, was really something that I think about a lot when I'm working on a day-to-day basis. How do I treat the staff that I work with? How do I treat the secretaries? How do I treat my nurses? How do I treat the students? I really want there to be that attitude of, equity and respect and value for what people are doing. Thinking again back to those experiences of just observation of, how some people really do value each and every person on this team, and it really makes a difference. And so I encourage each of you to think about that when you're volunteering. What are those experiences that you see that you will take with you, no matter where you're at in life, because they do definitely resonate. After I finished my undergrad training, I stayed here for medical school. I'm kind of what you could call a lifer, I guess, here in Iowa. I love this place. If it's not apparent by the end of this talk, hopefully you will figure it out. I love this place. I stayed here in medical school, and I actually helped volunteering my first year of medical school and set up at Rooftop, and then came back in my summer after medical school, not because I needed to, but because I just loved it. I loved the people. I loved just seeing, like real stories of people that weren't in biochem, of people that weren't dealing with the day-to-day of medical school. It was just a nice opportunity to have community within this program. And many of those relationships, I still have been able to take forward. I mean, prior to COVID, when I would see Bill in the hall with the volunteer cart, right, with all the refreshments, I would love to be able to talk to Bill and Jay. Many of you who know Bill and Jay, you know who I'm talking about, and those relationships last, right? So after I started medical school, this is kind of where, like life accelerates, right? So I'd done a lot of research in undergrad and had a really amazing research mentor in the Department of Psychology, and loved research. And it was a really great opportunity for me to see research and to see medicine through the MICU and the child psychiatry unit and the Pediatric Specialty Clinic. And so going to medical school was a really easy decision for me. I knew that medicine was where my heart was. I wanted to be able to advance care for people. But I didn't necessarily know right away how much I loved research until I got into medical school and then realized how much I missed it. And so I had an opportunity to do a year out clinical research fellowship in 2008 and 2009. And so I did this research year out, and again, just another amazing opportunity for me in life. And then after that, jumped back into regular clinical activities and graduated in 2011. My research has really always focused, actually, oddly enough, probably the bulk of it on kids, and looking at cognition, the brain. How do kids learn to think? How do we learn to make good decisions? How do we learn to make decisions under high stress environments? And so we'll come back to that because that sort of puts me where I'm at today. My current training, I did peds residency here, so I'm a general pediatrician by training. And then I did pediatric nephrology fellowship, so I'm a kids kidney doctor, again, by postgraduate training. And then I also have some advanced degrees in, again, research related to the work that I do. I have a master's in translational biomedicine. So who am I now? What do I do? I'm, again, a kids kidney doctor, and I love my job. It is not easy, but it is good. It is hard. And I don't think I'd want to be in a job where it was just easy. Honestly, I love being challenged every day. And so for all of you undergrads out there that are listening to this, look for that in your future job. Look for something that challenges you. And my career, the great thing about it is that it's rewarding and it's far from typical. I get to have different experiences every single day. So clinically, I primarily do transplant. Again, I'm the medical director of pediatric kidney transplantation, and so I take care of all of our pediatric kidney transplant patients here, which is unbelievable. And I get a lot of opportunities to travel and do fun things. So in this slide, I just wanted to highlight a little bit about my kind of a capstone of me as a physician here. I present a lot of research. I do work with the brain and chronic kidney disease, and how does our brain develop, or how does the brain develop when a child is born with kidney disease? And so, you know, I go to a lot of meetings and am really lucky to be able to present my data internationally, nationally. This is actually in Venice last year. About this time, I was in Venice, Italy, presenting data. And this picture I kind of think is cool because this is the hotel where the Venice Film Festival is, and it's the red carpet where all of the celebrities, you know, walk in. So anyways, I feel like I've stood where George Clooney has stood, so my life is good, right? But, you know, that being said, in addition to presenting research and doing fun things, I have amazing opportunities to connect with really, really awesome kids that have life stories that honestly, I'm lucky to rival. And sometimes I'm really blessed to be able to have them share those things with me. Like they'll bring in Christmas presents and bring in thank yous and things, which I don't deserve, but I'm just so lucky to be able to keep as a part of who I am. Like this water bottle for one of my kids who we encouraged them to name their kidneys, and he named his kidney Chalupa after Taco Bell. So, you know, water bottles, and then Christmas ornaments that my patients make. You know, these are part of who I am, the families and their memories that we have together through the hard times and the good times. And then sometimes, you know, again, pre-COVID, I'm lucky enough to get visitors in my office, like my little girl. This is Margaret. She's now 4. And, you know, my kids love to come to my office. And it's not easy to be a mom and be in medicine, but I like to be able to be an example to my kids of being tough and working hard. So I love having my kids come and visit. I wanted to share this video with you because this really, to me, is the capstone of, again, why I do what I do. I'm going to give you the warning, get your Kleenex ready, because it is a little bit of a tearjerker. But this is one of my patients, Joshua. And I also have to phrase this in the context of Joshua loves volunteers. And so for many of my peds kidney patients, COVID has been really hard because in the peds specialty clinic and on the inpatient side, our kids love you. Our kids miss you. And I want you all to know that you are a valued part of the healthcare team and you make such a difference for our patients. And so it's patients like Joshua that I hope and I can't wait for you to come back and see sooner rather than later. So I'm going to play this video and try not to get too teary because I know I get teary every time. Say excuse me. He knows that he has and he knows that. Hello.
So much. Oh, goodness. You were dressed for work, so throw me off for a second.
Hi, Amy, right?
Yeah.
And this is Joshua?
Yes, it is.
Do you have something to do? Dinosaur? What's a dinosaur say?
So what do you got here? A polar bear chasing a penguin.
You enjoy. You just be mom. Yeah, so I mean, if that doesn't bring you at least a couple of like smiles and tears, gosh darn it, I don't know what will. But you know, volunteering here, volunteering wherever you are in life is such an important impact or a part of who you can be as a person, who I am as a person, and who I've become as a person retrospectively, you know, looking back over the last now 20 years almost, the experiences, the leadership opportunities I had, the opportunities to see leaders in our healthcare field in action, it's something you can't get in many other places. And so the program here, again, I honestly sincerely credit to, in many ways, who I am as a person, as a physician, as a parent even, seeing so many of these wonderful community volunteers, having amazing peers that I was able to grow up with in the volunteer program. And, you know, in the context of volunteering, of a career in medicine, a career in whatever you do, I just want to be honest, you know, it's not always easy. A career in medicine, yeah, it's not always easy. There's some days that you just want to like, what the heck have I done? Why didn't I just, I don't know, get on a boat and travel the world? But it's worth it. Be bold. Find your it. Find what really gives you that passion, because you can do it. And in doing so, I really encourage you, find the people who support you for who you are. And that really drives you through those times when things are rough. And one of the things that really has, I think, been easy for me to look back retrospectively and say is, you know, if you don't love it, don't do it. Just like shoes. If you don't love them, don't buy them, right? And so for me, I'm so lucky because I love what I do. I'm surrounded by great people, including my husband, my sweet kids, Henry and Margaret. And I'm surrounded by amazing partners on my team. I have great kids that I get to take care of. This is my water bottle, a friend here. And so this was shared with permission. But amazing kids, amazing families. And then, you know, my pup, I had to show this. I knew if I didn't show a picture of my pup that Jean would be sad. You know, and so these opportunities in life, you know, as we have our family, our coworkers, our patients we take care of, the people that we impact, you know, we get to change medicine and change lives. Like the Band-Aids I have here that one of my patients put on me in clinic one day to heal my allergies. You know, we can do amazing things here. And it's, again, it's a team environment, and I can't say enough for the volunteer experiences I had in shaping who I am today. And so I have to close out with some really awesome pictures that are a blast from the past. So, memories for life. You can't say any more besides this, right? So this was me back about 20 years ago and 2 kids ago. My college student coordinator, my SLB chair badge, some things are worth saving, and that's one of them. And then again, memories for life, the people that I've met and care for, my friendships that I have from the volunteer program, I still have. Like if I look at my Facebook feed or my Twitter feed, many of the people in this picture, which were my SLB co-chairs, are regulars on my Facebook page and Twitter feed. They're friends for life. They're bridesmaids in your wedding or groomsmen, whatever. They're people that you let deliver your babies even. And so it's their memories for life. It's family for life. Cherish those relationships here. So with that, I will stop share and go back to the big group and be happy to take questions from people.
That was amazing. Thank you, Lyndsay. I definitely teared up in that video every time I watch it. It's just a little tear, but it's so sweet. So we did have volunteers submit questions ahead of time, and so I have a couple that we really wanted to ask you. So the first one was, what's your favorite way to practice self-care and just to manage the stresses of your job and to kind of keep that balance in your life and taking care of mental health? And if you have any tips on managing stress, especially during these tough times.
That's a great question. A great question. Jean will probably be the first to agree with me that I'm kind of a perfectionist. And so it is hard to be good to yourself and to really be able to let yourself have imperfections sometimes. And I feel like as I've gotten a little bit older, right, and with time, you get to the opportunity to give yourself grace and to give yourself the opportunity just to say, like, you know what, look, this isn't going to get done. And to be okay with that and to not feel like you're a failure. Sometimes it just comes with time. And in the last few years, especially in the midst of COVID too, I feel like I've had to be a lot more just realistic with myself and realize, there are a lot more things that matter. Where are my priorities? Where are the things that bring me joy? What's the Marie Kondo of your life, kind of thing. What brings you joy? And so in those moments when you're really feeling frustrated, when you're feeling like, gosh, I have no clue where the directionality is, or how am I going to get this project done? Finding those things that bring you joy and being able to just kind of shut off the world around you, even for half an hour, sometimes is enough to just renew your spirit and bring you back to a place where you can pick it up and do it again. Papers are not easy to write. Research is not easy to do, but having those intrinsic motivators, family, friends, your community around you can definitely be things that propel you forward, even in the midst of the virtual world we're in right now.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how did your volunteer experiences influence your decision to be a doctor and the type of doctor? So pediatric nephrologist, not really something that comes to mind right away, but how did you kind of figure out what you wanted to do as you went on?
Yeah, exactly. I think, to be very honest, again, those early NICU experiences were so formative for me. The ICU is sort of one of those places that you love it or you hate it to some extent, because it's high intensity, it's high acuity. And almost the moment I stepped in there, I knew I loved it. I knew I needed that almost adrenaline to some extent of being able to take care of the sickest kids or the sickest people, right? I didn't know at that point that maybe kids would be where I would be landing, but I loved the opportunity to think quickly, think critically, and think on my feet, but also to take a high level view of a very complex patient. And so seeing the physicians in the NICU do that was really just, it was a very formative experience for me, again, for who I would later become. And then I think as, I was in the areas with like the NICU cuddlers and seeing the super sick little babies in the NICU. And then in the Pediatric Specialty Clinic, you see the spectrum of very healthy looking kids to very developmentally disabled children, right? All sorts of kids across the spectrum. Seeing that you can embrace the child for who they are and meet them where they're at and enjoy that also, I think, resonated with me in parallel to the idea that I loved critical care kind of settings. And as I got into medical school further, I had some really amazing mentors in the clinical side in pediatrics who were nephrologists. And it was just that it's sort of, I think, honestly, the right place at the right time. And you find people that you're like, yes, I like what you do. I like these people. You're my people, right? And those were my people. And so I find your people, find your crew. And many times that's where you're supposed to be.
That's awesome. So we have time for maybe one question, but what has been kind of the most unexpected change in your career over the years here at Iowa? And you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would say probably twofold. I didn't necessarily expect going into medicine to do research or to be NIH-funded. I didn't really talk about it a lot, but technically, so I'm in the tail end of a 5-year NIH career development grant. I'm currently in the midst of submitting my big kid grants, my independent career grants. And so I didn't expect how significant research would be to me and how much I would love it, how much it drives what I do on a daily basis. And it's one of those things too, that when you're not necessarily expecting to go into a career that has a ton of research into it, then there's a few things that you have to like navigate the additional training along the way and navigate the additional preparation along the way to be able to be successful and credible in your field. And then by the time I navigate a career with a lot of research in it, and then a career with some of our sickest kids in kidney transplant, those were things I didn't necessarily expect. I mean, I didn't expect to do transplant work. I don't do the surgeries, but I take care of, again, all of the kids post-transplant and all of their transplant cares, and they can be pretty sick and pretty complicated. And those are just things that I didn't expect. I didn't, understand or expect the complexity of, how much kids and families need a team and how much that team has to really support our families through a child's development.
Well, I think we're running out of time here, but are there any last words you'd like to share with the volunteers here?
You know, I just want to make sure that everybody knows on the ped side, our kids miss you. Our kids love having volunteers. And so know that even in the midst of COVID, you are all so valued. And so we can't wait to have people back on the units. It'll definitely be a joy to have our volunteers back. And I think you'll all be a force to be reckoned with when you get back in the units. It'll be something that our kids really benefit from. But again, to the undergrads out there, you never know where life's going to take you. Stay connected with these relationships you have now. Because literally, my friends from my student leader board, they delivered my kids. So you never know when you might need a good OB that you're going to meet on your student leader board or in the volunteer services program. So these memories are important. The connections are important, even in the midst of the current challenges that you have with COVID.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Harshman. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experience with us through volunteers and how your career path is, where it's taken you. So we greatly appreciate you doing our first Lunch and Learn event with our volunteers.
Absolutely.
So, perfect. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you for participating. And everyone stay safe and take care.